One of the first things that I caught, though, was the title. It said Dragon Age Inquisition. Did you guys kick the 3? Or?
We did kick the 3, yeah. You know, each Dragon Age story is a separate story. Your choices do carry across between the titles, but it's a different protagonist that sort of goes through each one. So we wanted to make sure that this is a separate... Everyone knew there was a separate title, so...
Okay, cool. I actually really like that you guys are doing that, because that way you don't, constrict yourselves, with, Mass Effect. I mean, the Mass Effect trilogy worked, but it's like you have to continue that story.
That's right, and I think a lot of people get really, really engaged in the Mass Effect story. It was brilliant, but it was definitely a trilogy, and it was always planned as a trilogy. Dragon Age was never planned to be a trilogy, so...
And it could go on forever.
It can and it will. Yes.
Yeah, as much as people are like, no, 2014, I'm so glad you guys are taking your time with this.
Yeah, well, that's really, I mean, we are as well. We really want to make sure that we nail this properly. There's a lot of things we want to do that we couldn't really do if we stuck to our original date. So this is an opportunity for us to do what we want. It's an opportunity for us to give you guys what you want, which is the most important thing. So, yeah, everyone's really pleased. It's another year for everyone to wait. But I think the wait will be worth it. So
I think so too. It looks amazing. We might expect for gameplay. Do you think it looks far different, or maybe?
It looks the same. I mean, that's what it looks
really?
like.
Wow.
Right? So, but in terms of gameplay, you'll see something soonish.
Okay.
So I won't say when, but yeah.
And you guys are getting some inspiration. I've read from Skyrim, the size of that type of game.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of talk about that, and people definitely on the forums, which I read a lot of. So hi to the BSN. But exploration is really what we're looking at. It's not necessarily the concept of a massive open world or trying to copy other games, but it's really about the sense of exploration that you can have when you move through these big wilderness areas and this diverse locations. So we want to try and pull people around and show them interesting things which they can go and explore if they want to do that. But it's certainly not mandatory. So if you want to stick to the traditional crit path or the Bioware story, it's absolutely there. It's interwoven into everything that you do, even the exploration if you do want to do it. But so we just want to bring in that more sort of open world feeling and let people get around and do what they want to do without constricting them all the time like we have in the past.
Mike Laidlaw said that we're going to be in some place more French.
Yeah.
So for Dragon Age fans, I think that translates to Orlais.
Right.
But I read that one of the maps, or I believe this was in one of the Bioware panels in PAX East or something like that, that actually one of the maps is 4 to 5 times the size of Ferelden. Is that correct?
Yeah, there's some really, really big maps that we've already got. I mean, Dragon Age 2 was pretty small, and it was set to be an intimate kind of an experience. So Dragon Age Inquisition is much, much broader. It's much more epic in scope. Not just the story. The story goes back to kind of your origins, big, story. And then the world, is needed for that, right? So we're a big world. There's some really, really broad and interesting locations, and a lot of different locations as well. We don't want to put someone particularly in a French-speaking place, and just leave them there, right? So we want to go all over the place, and so many interesting places in the Dragon Age lore for people to explore, and so we're going to do all of that. But yeah, the maps are absolutely huge.
That is super exciting. I don't want to take up too much of your time anymore, but this was super awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
This was Cameron Lee from Bioware, and I'll talk to you guys later. So with everything that we know so far, I wanted to speculate a little bit about the protagonist and a possible storyline. If you visit DragonAge.com, you'll see this amazing picture on the front cover. I absolutely love this picture. And if you scroll down, you'll see another picture of somebody holding a sword and their fist facing you. And this person has 4 rings, apparently 5 because they have one on their thumb that you can't see. Starting from the left to right, those symbols represent. Now I'm going to be skipping the second one, the red one, just for a second. I'm going to go back to that. So the first symbol represents the Seekers. The third, because I'm skipping the red one, is the circle of Magi. And the last one is the Templars. So going back to the red one, I'm not sure what that ring is, but I think it is red lyrium. Now this isn't an actual term for this type of lyrium. Red lyrium was actually invented by the fans just to distinguish between the colors. Lyrium is red when it's in its dust form, but I think this is more of the lyrium that we saw in Dragon Age 2, the one that Meredith had. on her sword. So I'm thinking that this ring contains red lyrium and probably represents the Tevinter Imperium. I could be completely wrong. If it does represent the Tevinter Imperium, that might have some kind of connection to the Fade. The Tevinter Imperium messed around with lyrium a lot, especially in creating like a way to travel into the Fade with lyrium. And I'm guessing that maybe this ring will make you maybe transport into the Fade or something like that. This is just speculation, but I think that them showing you these rings are a huge part of who the protagonist is, and also a huge part of what the story is going to really focus on. Now, obviously, we're going to be delving into the Mage and Templar war that was instigated in the book Asunder, and also it was also touched upon in Dragon Age 2 and in Dawn of the Seeker, the anime. And since they're using the word Inquisition means like an investigation, a long investigation of something. But the word isn't just used for its literal meaning. In Dragon Age, there is actually a group called the Inquisition, and David Gator has hinted, saying something like, the Inquisition will rise again. So I'm thinking that the word Inquisition in the title is more representative of the group than of the actual action. The Inquisition are a group of people that followed the First Blight. They pretty much created the Inquisition to defend Thetis from dangers of magic and heretics. What happened to the Inquisition was that they later joined with the Chantry and became the Seekers and the Templars. If you look at the Inquisition symbol, it's got the symbol of the Seekers and the Templars. There's kind of two stories behind the Inquisition. One of them is that they were horrible and that when they were around, there was like this reign of terror. But others say that the Inquisition was actually cast in a negative light by history, and that they actually protected both mages and common people. So when the Chantry was founded during the Divine Era, the Chantry signed an agreement with the Inquisition, the Navaran Accord, which united them as the Chantry's military arms. Together, the Chantry and the Inquisition created the Circle of Magi, and the Inquisition kind of spread into two groups, the Templar Order and the Seekers of Truth. The Templar Order being the martial arm of the Chantry, and the senior members being the Seekers. If you don't know who the Seekers are, in Dragon Age 2, if you remember Cassandra, the woman that was interrogating Varric, she was a Seeker. They serve and answer to the Divine from Valrayu directly. So they make sure that the Templars are doing their job correctly. So the Templars pretty much hate the Seekers or are afraid of them, because whenever Seekers are around, that usually means that something is wrong or someone is failing at their duties. So knowing all of this, and knowing that Bioware is calling the protagonist the Inquisitor, why they're calling the protagonist an Inquisitor, I'm not sure, because the Inquisitors or the Inquisition turned into the Seekers and the Templars. So why isn't it just a Seeker, or why isn't it just a Templar? Why all of a sudden is there an Inquisitor? I think, as David Gator said, I think the Inquisition is rising again. I think with what's going on with the Mage and Templar War, and the way that things ended in Dawn of the Seeker, where the Seekers and the Templars went against each other, and it was almost like they were enemies instead of partners like they had started off being. They were the same order, the Inquisition. So I think that you are the one that is representing what used to be. You're the one that's representing the Inquisition. You're the one that represents the union between these two groups that have drifted apart. And you're the one that's going to be kind of like a neutral ground to investigate what's going on. So like Morrigan says in the trailer, where she says, will you stand against it, or will you lead this world to its bitter end? I think you're going to be given the responsibility, or maybe you have the power to fix all of this, because you are the rise of the Inquisition. And to me, one of the most interesting reveals are these rings. And if you look at both pictures, the top one and the bottom one, there's a lot of representation of the dragon on the sword, the scales, the helmet. I think that has some kind of connection to Flemeth, no doubt. I don't know why. I'm almost 100% certain that that has to do with Flemeth. Flemeth always had this plan with the Warden and with Hawk and with so many people in Ferelden. There's so many myths about Flemeth and a lot of them involved the lives of a number of Ferelden's most notable citizens. If you remember in the ending of Dragon Age 2, there has this direct connection with everything that Flemeth ever said, and the disappearance of the Warden and the disappearance of Hawke. Flemeth says, "There are men who embrace destiny. These are the ones that change the world forever." And if you've read the comics, you also see someone very similar to Flemeth. I won't go too much into detail here, but I will talk about it later. They also go into the connection that important people have with dragons. So I think with Morrigan's return, that she obviously has a plan to go against Flemeth, and who knows, maybe the choice that you have to make is to either side with Flemeth or to go against Flemeth. But I think everything shown on those pictures are representative of what the story is going to be about. The rings represent your character and represent the Inquisition, because those rings represent all of the groups that the Inquisition is, except for that red ring. I think that red ring is going to have a big role in this game, in Dragon Age Inquisition. I think that's going to be something new. But I definitely do think that it's red lyrium, and it probably has some kind of connection to the Tevinter Imperium, to the Fade, or maybe even Flemeth. A lot of people are speculating that the protagonist of Dragon Age Inquisition is going to be the child that Morrigan had, but I don't think so. I mean, unless there's some kind of like time travel going to be going on here, because the time period does not fit. I mean, you're obviously playing this adult in Dragon Age Inquisition, but if you think about it, not enough time has passed within the timeline for you to be playing as Morrigan's child. That would have been at least over 20 years. That time has obviously not passed, because we're seeing returning characters like Varric and Morrigan, and it's not like they look so much older. And then also just with the situations that are going on, they're like direct sequels to Dragon Age 2 and to Dawn of the Seeker and the books and the comics. So not that much time has passed, at least not enough for you to be playing Morrigan's adult child. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be starting off as an Inquisitor already, or if you're going to become an Inquisitor, kind of like they've been doing it with the previous Dragon Age titles, where you start off kind of like a nobody, and then you end up becoming someone. Like in Dragon Age Origins, you became the Warden, and in Dragon Age 2, you became the champion of Kirkwall. I don't know if it's going to be like that for Inquisition. I'm kind of hoping that you already start off with a position, with an important position, and you're given this task, and then later on you start to question what you stand for, and you start to question your beliefs and who you are. I'm hoping that that's what they're going to be going into, and not be telling a story of someone becoming the Inquisitor. I almost have a feeling that it's going to be that you're already going to have a position, either in the Templars or in the Seekers, or maybe you're already this new rise of the Inquisition. I would love to see that, because Bioware is talking about this choice, and Morrigan mentions it as well in the trailer. But it's on a deeper level than it was in, say, Dragon Age 2, because in Dragon Age 2 it's just like, are you Templar or Mage? And in the end, it really didn't have that much of a difference. It didn't really matter who you represented or who you defended, because what happened. So in this one, they're saying that there's going to be more of an impact with your decisions. So I'm really hoping that you start off as someone that's already in a position, already feels sure of themselves, and throughout the game your basis of who you are gets rattled around, and you start questioning who you are and what you believe in and that kind of thing, and then end up with this choice where you're just like, I was so sure in the beginning that I was going to go with the Templars or whatever, and now I don't know. I love those types of games, so I'm really hoping that they do this time around, because I think it would add another aspect to the Dragon Age titles that we haven't seen yet, and I really think it would make for a great storyline and amazing character development. So I'm not saying that this is exactly what's going to happen. These are just speculations on my part, especially with the things that have been released, these pictures, the trailer, and just reading reading the books, the comics, all that good stuff. So I will be making more Dragon Age videos in the coming future, because kind of like preparing for Dragon Age Inquisition, because I'm just so excited for this game, and I just have so much to share and so much to say that I really can't wait. Let me know what you guys think of what I just talked about, or if you guys have your own ideas. I'd love to hear them. So yeah, that's pretty much it, and I'll talk to you guys later.